Wow, thank you very much for having me, very much to the organizers as well. After that talk, I kind of want to completely abandon what I wanted to talk about and continue to address some of these topics because, Claire, I resonated so much with your position. I'm a little bit um, younger than you in terms of spinning up the facility and thinking about some of the problems that many of the people in this audience have already blazed a path through. So in a weird way, you find me at an interesting point in my career. I did something very silly several years ago. I'm glad I did, but it was a bit crazy at the time. Um, I am a self-professed cell biologist with physicist envy. I have no qualifications to actually be able to do the things that I'm going to tell you about now. But I left the safety and comfort of a very large imaging core. And that was because the School of Engineering invited me to build pre-commercial technologies because we didn't have many of these on campus outside of select people on campus that would build them for their specific projects. And so some of the people in power at Vanderbilt said, hey, we really need this technology here as well. You have a team that can do this. And I put team loosely here because now it's John and I. And the onus is on us to build and then deploy these systems. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about this story, at least as much as I can in the 10 minutes that I have. So I threatened last year that I was going to have an entire presentation on exactly this topic, which is I should have listened to Leon. But you're only going to get one excerpt of it this year. It's a conversation that started long before Cape Town and then concluded with a final statement here that Leon had for me in Cape Town. And so when I was tasked to build a new facility and to spin up everything that I'm about to tell you that we're trying to do now, he said, Brian, you can't do this by yourself. Right? This is very much in the spirit, I would say, of this meeting as well. And I think everybody, or at one point in your career, you resonated with this statement as well. I don't have a choice. You feel alone. Somebody said yesterday, it's a very lonely job spinning up a facility, and you don't know who the people are that you need to talk to get this going. But I had the arrogance to say something like, I think I can do this. So watch me, I can do this. Leong says, see you in a year. So I don't see where he is now, but Leong, I'm gray now. I have a lot more gray than I had in Cape Town. And I want to take this kind of complete 180 from what the comment I had for Leong and say that I want to put the key statement from this entire talk at the start by saying my biggest lesson from the entire experience, very much in the spirit of network organizations, is that the most important network you can build is the one that's made up of the people that can help you along the way. And I very, very much believe in this. And it's why I'm at this conference, because so many of you are much bigger experts in some of the things that I'm trying to do now. But what you don't realize is that might seem very, very obvious, but it is not at all clear who these people are when you're supposed to start this, right? Who are the people on campus that can help you? Certainly, they're not paid to help you specifically. And this takes a long time to know who these people are. And again, I want to do something that typically is done at the end of a presentation and do something a bit career sacrificing and put all the powerful people at the bottom here. And I know I'm being recorded on YouTube, so I want to thank all of you who have given us the opportunities to open the facility that we have. But I want to highlight some of the people that are not on my team. I don't have a team per se. It's John and I largely, and we're expanding, who I'll talk about in a minute. I'm very happy to have Miguel de Jesus from the Philippines now joining as of last week. But there are a litany of people that have helped me and spent nights and weeks in doing the dirty work of building a facility that they aren't paid to do. So I want to thank them. I'll tell you a little about who we are. So we're within the Biophotonics Center, and Dr. Anita Mahadevan Jansen is our director. As I've mentioned or alluded to, John and I were tasked several years ago to build pre-commercial technologies. Many of you know what I'm talking about: OPM systems, lattice light sheets, Muse systems, open tops, all kinds of things to help our research community. I didn't know at the time, but that was kind of the easy part. I didn't have the qualifications as a builder. I'm still very meek in saying that I'm a builder now in front of builders. We operate via a collaborative model. Something else that Clara said, it's finding sustainability for these kinds of models, tricky business. Allison knows something about this as well, and we strategize on how to deploy these systems. And something I really want to highlight, I'm very passionate about, is that we have a special emphasis on building up lower resourced institutions. And one of our metrics of success by having them come to us and collaborate on higher end pre-commercialized technologies is that our metrics of success are to increase their competitiveness, not ours, in terms of publications and acquisition of research funding. And this is a brand new program which we're launching thanks to CZI called VVIP, or Vanderbilt Visitors Imaging Program. To just give you a flavor of kind of some of the things that we build, I mentioned several of them earlier. Many people in the facility, come and collaborate with us and think they look more like espresso machines than they do anything in the instrumentation world. Give you a little bit of an idea what big data means to us, at least at the moment. So we have two general classes of collaborators: those that come to us who need data to polish off a paper. I think this is probably pretty familiar for many of you in the audience. And this was a paper we published with Matt Tiska's group several years ago now. And they may come to us for a week or two and walk away with about 15 terabytes of data. And if you talk to Eric Betzig, his classical line is, and you too will walk away with 10, 20, 30 terabytes that you don't know what to do with. And this is very true. Something I want to point out here that I don't have the time to. But if you think about big data in the context of people who are very well funded, have multiple R1s, or you talk to a lower resource institution, big data in many ways was the great equalizer. Neither side could actually harness this data, at least in the early days, as well as we hoped that they could. And then we have others like Dr. Jennifer Sucre, is a physician scientist, BioImaging, or the medical center, who come see what they can image with us and then realize that they can't do what we can do with any kind of other instrument, and they stay with us for a year or more. And in her case, she's probably working on a quarter to a half of a petabyte by the time that she's published the paper that she's recently published. So a huge amount of data. And once you build these sorts of things, and the people who are authorizing your ability to do this on campus realize that you can build them on time, and maybe they meet spec, and you did this under budget, they make very, very wrong assumptions. And the wrong assumptions that they make is that, well, you built this optical instrumentation, you must also know all kinds of things about data management and networking, and surely you're a network engineer also. And so this is why I end up at these meetings, right? I look to you, much like Clara said, and say, help us deploy these kinds of technologies. We know the research impact that they can have, but we need to stand on the shoulders of giants that are in the room, or maybe I'm crouching at the moment. So this is kind of what I built in the previous facility, probably pretty familiar to many of you. It's a rack of workstations that could be remotely accessed with co-localized with some storage here. And we had maybe a quarter of a petabyte of storage here that people could kind of remote into and use as kind of a building theme. And then certain people were very impressed with the fact that we can build these things. And at one point, in a certain way, our team, in quotes, was asked, if you were to be offered brand new space in a brand new building, which is just sheer shell space at the moment, could you design the space that you need for the infrastructure that you want to be able to support the instrumentation that you've built? And stupidly, this was kind of my reaction at the time, assuming that I could build a light sheet. Surely I could design, a lot of the infrastructure that we need. And so then you get hit like the next day, and you're completely overwhelmed and underwater, working with architects and engineers. And a lot of this is non-data related, just the nuts and bolts of how to build a facility for imaging, which I don't have time to go into now. But I do want to highlight the years of stoking these relationships with the people in IT and the people on the ground level that can help you do what you want to do was critical in this process. Because by the time these plans hit my desk, I could call people now and say, what are the right questions that I need to ask? Who do I need to talk to? We've been given access. Actually, some of these same people called me and say, hey, Brian, we know what you're trying to achieve with your operation. Turns out there's a data center being built on your floor that we think you should be able to access, right? Through the switches that we want to be able to give you to do what you need to do. That's the network building that would pay off in later time points. But there's these huge, 50 seconds, great. Formidable initial questions. Where does one start with big data? How do you plan for solutions that don't exist yet? That's a very tough thing. And then I knew quite early on that costs associated with the construction of a new facility can be wildly different, weirdly, wildly cheaper than trying to retrofit a facility to do the things that you want later downstream. So this is the additional pressure to get this right, measure 3 times, cut once kind of thing. I'm going to speed up here because a lot of these things, and I'm glad because this is very cohesive with a lot of the other strategies that other presenters have deployed. But we had kind of a 4-pronged strategy here. And one was to deploy a network infrastructure that will enable us to significantly scale but we also understood that we might not be able to fully take advantage of the things that we installed right at the moment, right? A lot of you can probably see where I'm going with this. I think the new standard at the time was, and is to deploy 10 gig Ethernet everywhere in scientific institutions. And certainly we had that availability to us. I don't actually use it all that much. As it turned out, for relatively low amounts of cost, as long as they're laying all those lines, you can add on a network of single node fiber and have scalability years and years into the future. We also knew that we wouldn't be able to fully take advantage of this now. And so I just added this slide. I'm not going to talk about it quite a lot, but a lot of people have the misconception that fiber is super expensive. And I think historically that was true, but the costs have come down dramatically. And we can talk about hardware associated with a fiber network in a minute, or offline. So I'll lump these two in the interest of time because they've been talked about quite a lot. Co-localizing high-speed storage with high-performance compute, isolated for the imaging facility. I don't keep any high-end imaging workstations in the lab or servers. It was like working next to an F-16 for long enough in the old facility. And then this data outpost should really be the centralized hub for the facility, such that it serves for internal and external networks that we need, as well as strategically located on campus to get to cloud quickly. And I realized that that was a very important choice that we made. So now, this is kind of the facility as it stands today. I actually took this a couple of days ago. And what IT allowed me to do was, you're seeing most of the traffic that actually comes in via the floor. I'm not the only person on the floor. But they gave me a string of racks in the back to kind of do whatever I wanted with. And I saw a lot of future flexibility in this. And part of this is just kind of sticking your flag in the sand saying, I don't know what the solution is going to be yet, but I want these racks and we're going to expand on it, I can assure you. All right. I think about 2 more slides left. I can break this down later. It's not so important. For this group, you obviously understand fiber networks and strategies with respect to networking. But one of the things I do want to emphasize, even though other people have spoken about it already, is that we get so much mileage out of heavily prioritizing OS agnostic remote compute. People being able to use whatever OS they want to patch into our systems and be able to utilize our horsepower on their laptop through the VPN from wherever they happen to be. That's a game changer. And so we use a commercialized solution by HP called HP Anywhere, which actually works quite well, and I'm happy to talk more details about that later. So I'm over time, but I do want to thank, including all of the people that enabled and greenlighted this project to actually move forward. And I also want to welcome Miguel de Jesus. I can tell you just having one more person on your team is infinitely helpful in terms of not trying to do everything yourself. I want to thank some career mentors. I would not be where I am and trying to do what I'm trying to do because I'm not qualified to do it without some fantastic career mentors, one here, Leon Chu, obviously. Thank you to all of our funders. And I also want to say thank you to my wife, who's in the audience, because this is what it's like to go out to dinner with me. I find point spread functions coming off of my chopstick holder at dinner in Kyoto. So a little bit of a peek into the madness that's between the ears. So thank you all. I just want to thank the community. You guys have been incredibly supportive of a wannabe builder. And I look to all of you as mentors for how to deploy these systems in the future. Thank you.